She thought he was dead. The letters stopped after Kandahar. She mourned, moved on, and opened a small-town bookstore. But every Friday, a quiet man with weathered boots came in and stared at the military section, never buying a thing. Until Veterans Day, when he left something behind on the counter. A medal with her name etched on the back. If you believe some reunions are written in silence, type remember and subscribe. This story unfolds slowly, but hits hard. They called him many things. Stranger. Wanderer. Some just said him like he didn't deserve a full name. But to most, he was just the man in the gray coat, the one who walked with a limp, hands always tucked in his pockets, and eyes that never quite met yours. He showed up in the town of Fairgrove one October morning, carrying nothing but a torn duffel bag and a silence too heavy to be casual. No one asked where he came from. No one offered much. He swept the back alley behind Lou's gas station for a few bucks, ate lunch at the church kitchen on Wednesdays, and slept near the war memorial behind the library, the irony of that lost on everyone but him. The townspeople didn't see a veteran. They saw a drifter with a bad leg and an unshaven face. Some thought he was dangerous. Others said he talked to himself. But he wasn't talking to himself, not really. He was whispering names. Names from the desert. Names no one else remembered. Every Friday, just after 2 p.m., he walked down Main Street and into a little bookstore with green shutters and a hand-painted sign that read page by page. He never asked for help. Just stood near the back, facing the wall where the war memoirs were shelved. He never touched them. Never opened a single one. Just stood. Like maybe he was waiting for someone. And every Friday, she was there. Behind the counter. The one who used to write the letters. But she hadn't recognized him yet. Not through the dirt. Not through the years. Not yet. Before the war, before the sand and fire, he had a plan. Not a grand one, just a small life, clean and quiet. A house with a porch. Maybe 2 kids. A dog that barked too much. And her. Always her. Julia Hart. He'd promised her something simple: I'll come back for you. When this is over, we'll start the life we talked about. And I'll never leave again. That's what he wrote on the last page of his final letter. Kandahar, 2011. But war doesn't care for promises. When the Humvee exploded, it tore through everything: the convoy, the mission, the timeline. He survived, technically. But the name stitched on his uniform burned away with the rest. They listed him as MIA, missing in action. Eventually, presumed dead. It took him 3 years just to walk again. 2 more to remember how to speak without stuttering. And 1 full year to gather the courage to search her name online. She was still in Fairgrove. Still breathing. Still building a life. She ran a bookstore now, page by page. Opened it the year after the letters stopped. Probably as a way to keep going. Probably as a way to forget. He didn't want to break her peace. Didn't want to show up like a ghost she'd already buried. But he had to see her. Just once. Not to reclaim her love, he no longer believed he deserved that, but to know she was okay. Every Friday, he went in. He never spoke. Never revealed himself. That wasn't the goal. The goal was simple. Let her remember him on her own. Or not at all. Julia had changed. Not in a bitter way, not in a hard way, but softened by time and shaped by grief. Her laugh still echoed through the store when customers made clever comments, but her eyes never fully laughed with her. There was always something missing in the corners of her smile. Something left behind. She kept a small framed photo by the register. Him in uniform, grinning with too much confidence, a desert sky behind him and dust on his boots. Most assumed he was a brother. A cousin. No one asked. Julia never offered. In the early days, she kept his letters in a drawer under the counter. Yellowed, creased, fragile things she unfolded and read like scripture. But as the years passed, she stopped opening them. Not because she didn't love him anymore, but because it hurt too much to remember how much she did. And so, when the quiet man began visiting her store, Julia saw only a shape. A presence. A worn coat and a scar she didn't recognize. She never connected the limp to the blast she had nightmares about. Never saw the matching mole beneath his left eye. Never noticed how his fingers always brushed across the spine of All Quiet on the Western Front, the book she once mailed to Kandahar. Because pain does that, it builds blinders. It teaches us to forget the details that used to anchor us. And he never gave her a reason to look closer. No eye contact. No name. No words. He was the one with the mission, but she was the obstacle. Not because she stood in the way, but because she had already let go. That Friday had started like the others. Crisp air, leaves falling in spirals, the scent of cinnamon from the bakery 2 doors down. He walked the same sidewalk, past the same benches, nodded to the same street dog who always barked once then went quiet. Same ritual. Same ghost walk. But something was off in him. He could feel it in his bones, in the way his foot dragged slightly heavier. He had planned to disappear at the end of the month. Leave Fairgrove quietly. Go somewhere warmer, where memories didn't crawl out of brick walls and old sidewalks. He'd gone too many weeks without being seen, and now the ache of being invisible stung more than the shrapnel still in his back. Inside the bookstore, Julia was rearranging the Veterans Day display. She hummed as she worked, a tune he recognized instantly. It was the song she used to sing while painting her kitchen. He remembered the splash of mint green across her cheek. That tune stopped him cold in the doorway. She looked up briefly, offered her usual polite smile. Nothing more. He stepped toward the military shelf. His eyes scanned the spines he already knew by heart. But this time, his hand didn't stay in his pocket. It moved. And with a slow breath, he pulled the metal from his coat, scratched, darkened by sand and time. And on the back, beneath the insignia. For J.H., my home in every war. He laid it gently on the counter and walked out. No words. No glance. But Julia turned just as the door closed. Her eyes dropped to the object. And her world stopped breathing. At first, she thought it was a mistake. The kind of cruel coincidence that only small towns in grief could conjure. But as she lifted the metal from the counter, her hands began to tremble. She knew that texture. The weight. The barely visible nick near the edge. It had happened when she dropped it between couch cushions years ago, back when he mailed it home saying, "I want you to keep this safe. It's yours as much as mine." Her breath caught in her chest. Her vision blurred. She flipped it over. For J.H., my home in every war. Her initials. His words. Carved before Kandahar. She remembered that carving. He did it with a dull pocket knife, his thumb bandaged for a week after. Her legs moved before her mind caught up. She pushed through the door, heart pounding, searching the sidewalk. Nothing. No boots. No coat. Just cold wind and fallen leaves. He was gone. She closed the shop early. Locked the door without flipping the sign. Then went to the back room and opened the box. The letters. Dozens of them. She read the last one again. If I make it home, I'll find you. Even if I'm broken. Even if I don't know how to speak. And then something strange happened. She remembered the limp. The silence. The way he always stared at All Quiet on the Western Front. The realization didn't hit all at once. It built like thunder from far off, low, shaking, then impossible to ignore. It wasn't a ghost haunting her store. It was him. Alive. That night, Julia couldn't sleep. She kept the metal beside her bed like a talisman. Every sound outside made her heart leap. She wanted to believe it. Needed to. But part of her was terrified. What if she was wrong? By sunrise, she made a choice. She took the letters and the metal and went to the one place she never visited anymore, the war memorial behind the library. The same spot where rumors said the drifter sometimes slept. Dew clung to the grass. The benches were empty. No boots. No coat. But taped to the back of the bronze statue, just barely, was a folded sheet of paper, flapping in the morning breeze. She pulled it loose with shaky hands. No name. No address. Just 6 words written in block letters. I remember everything. I saw you. And beneath that, one final line. Page by page, you saved me. It wasn't just him. He hadn't come back broken. He had come back remembering. Julia sank onto the bench, the letter pressed to her chest. He had seen her. Now, it was her turn to find him. Julia sat on the memorial bench long after the sun climbed over the rooftops. The letter trembled in her hands, creased where her fingers had clenched it. The words echoed in her chest, I remember everything. I saw you. But he was gone again. She checked the alley behind the bookstore. The diner. The church kitchen. She asked a woman at the gas station if she'd seen a man with a limp, weathered coat, maybe carrying a duffel. The woman just shook her head. You mean the one that always looks like he's walking through a storm? Nah. Haven't seen him today. Julia didn't know if she was too late or if he had planned it that way all along. Maybe he never meant to stay. Maybe seeing her was enough. But for her, it wasn't. She returned to her shop and sat behind the counter, the metal now resting beneath the register, hidden but not forgotten. The bell above the door rang once for a customer. Then silence. Then again, but no one came in. Her heart leapt each time. But it was never him. That night, she lit a single candle in her window, like she used to when the war was at its worst, back when she believed candles could guide soldiers home. But this time, it wasn't hope she felt. It was helplessness. She had found him. Then lost him again. And this time, she didn't even know if he was alive or just passing like a shadow. Because ghosts don't always disappear. Sometimes, they stand right in front of you. And you still don't see them in time. 2 days passed. Julia didn't open the store. She walked instead. Miles, through every part of Fairgrove where someone forgotten might pass unnoticed, the park, the edge of town where the freight trains rolled in, the abandoned bus shelter near the old mill. Nothing. On the 3rd day, she opened the store again. Mostly out of habit. She was dusting shelves when the door creaked open. She didn't look up, not until the scent of metal and dust hit her. Familiar. Faint. And then she heard it. His voice. Not strong. Not rehearsed. Just 5 quiet words. I wasn't sure you'd want me. Julia froze. He stood at the entrance. Same boots. Same limp. But this time, no wall between them. No shelves. No silence. Only him. She didn't cry. Not at first. She walked toward him slowly, her arms loose at her sides like she didn't know if she was about to hug a man or collapse into a memory. I thought you were dead, she whispered. I was, he said simply. Until I saw you again. And then she moved. 1 step. 2. And wrapped her arms around him so tightly, it was as if the years between them crumbled in an instant. He didn't speak. Neither did she. Because the war had already said enough. And now, silence finally meant peace, not absence. For the first time in over a decade, they sat across from one another. No uniforms. No dog tags. Just 2 people clinging to something that had never truly died. They talked for hours. Quietly. Carefully. He told her about the explosion. The months in a German hospital under a false name. The years it took to come back to himself. He had no ID, no contact, nothing but a fractured memory and a body stitched together by military silence. Julia told him about the bookstore. How she opened it the year after the final letter. How she filled it with stories when her own felt too painful to finish. I came every Friday because I knew if I opened my mouth, I'd break something, he said. But I couldn't stay away. You should have told me. I didn't think I had the right. She reached across the table and placed her hand over his. You came home. That's all that matters. And for the first time since the blast, since Kandahar, since everything, he cried. Not the loud kind. The quiet kind. The kind that happens when someone finally believes they're not alone anymore. Outside, the town kept moving. Cars passed. Bells rang. Leaves fell. But inside that little bookstore, time paused. And something lost was returned. Not with noise, but with presence. Words spread slowly. Not about who he was, but what had happened. A few regulars noticed that the drifter stopped drifting. He now sat behind the counter some afternoons, sorting donations or reading paperbacks from the shelf. His coat was still worn. But he didn't hide in it anymore. On Veterans Day, the town held a ceremony at the memorial. Small, modest. Folding chairs. An elementary school choir. Julia stood quietly near the back, the medal pinned to her blouse. And then the mayor, reading from a short speech, announced something unexpected. One final name has been added to our Wall of Honor, Staff Sergeant Nathaniel Cole. Missing in action, 2011. Returned, 2025. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Julia turned. He stepped forward slowly, leaning just slightly on a cane someone had carved by hand. No applause. No cheers. Just quiet respect. And when he reached the plaque and ran his fingers over the engraving, he didn't smile. He saluted. Not for show, but for memory. And this time, the whole town finally saw him. In the weeks that followed, something shifted in Fairgrove. People waved more often. A boy who once snickered at the hobo behind the gas station now stopped to shake his hand. Local vets brought coffee to the bookstore. A high school girl wrote an essay about his return and won a scholarship. But he didn't want parades. Or interviews. He just wanted to show up. To be present. He helped fix shelves. Built a reading corner for kids in the back of the shop. Taught a boy how to fold a flag properly. Julia placed a photo of them, taken just weeks earlier, beside the one from Kandahar. In the new one, they're older. Weathered. But together. She placed a note beneath it. Welcome home doesn't always sound like words. And every Friday, he still walked in at 2 p.m. Not to hide. But to begin again. Sometimes visitors come in and ask about the medal framed on the wall. The one etched with initials and weathered edges. Julia always smiles. She doesn't tell them everything. Only this. He came back when no one believed he would. Including him. The rest is in the books. In the silences between the shelves. In the way he dusts each one like they matter. Because to him, they do. Every book is a page turned. Every Friday is another step forward. Every person who walks in, wondering about the quiet man behind the counter, leaves knowing something sacred. He was lost. But not forgotten. And not anymore. If you believe some salutes don't need sound, only time. Type remember in the comments, and subscribe. Because not all reunions happen at airports. Some happen in quiet corners. Page by page.